I'm gonna do some active imagination with it, some more active imagination with it, and I'm gonna focus on the blanket now. I think the blanket's fairly key in this.
Well, yeah, it's a gift of the of to take up residence here. One of our legs is trapped there, and it's represents the new attitude of of having one foot in both worlds, but it's trapped there, so we don't have a foot in both worlds. And the anima invited us to take up residence there. I'll just let me just review it one more time, since as long as Kevin's here. Kevin, we were just discussing this dream Gary had in the mid week last week. He let's see, the anima is ushering for the symphony. This time it's a choral group. So the anima is in this kind of a sacred place, and she's there's this wonderful thing of Plotinus that says that the director of the chorus is in. We all have our backs to him, and we need to turn and look at him to sing as we should sing, because the director's in the middle, so we need to turn. But anyway, she's is this gatekeeper of the unconscious, of the chorus of the unconscious. And we don't have tickets for this. Sometimes we go to the symphony, but you go there anyway. So you sort of ended up here sort of unconsciously, because she didn't, unless you knew that she was ushering there, you might have known that. Do you think that was true, Gary? How did you end up there?
Well, I mean, she does, she is an usher, so that would make sense.
Yes. So you didn't have admittance to this chorus, so you're somewhat of an intruder here, or at least the ego is, because it hasn't sufficiently integrated the depths. The piece is poorly attended. They only have enough patrons to fill a few rows. So they're this place of the center is little occupied by our outer attention. It's almost empty. It's very neglected. The anima hands me a folded blanket and takes you into the hall. So she gives us a blanket, inviting us. So it's sort of a holy gift, inviting us to take up residence here, to make a bed in this place where we can be closer to the images and contents all the time, day and night. And during the performance, I will sit in the very back row, the middle row, and in the very front row. So you gradually, through your attention you give to the place, gravitate towards the center where the divine drama takes place. The group is not bad, but not particularly your taste. So this divine drama at this point is not awakening the energy or libido in the unconscious, in consciousness. So we don't have an affinity yet for this, or understand it probably. We just don't probably understand what's happening, because our soul is performing a divine drama, and we have yet to be captured by it. The audience is leaving, sometimes in mass. Surprising, there's only audience left. The choral group looks at each other, wondering what is going on, but continues performing. So this choral group of the center is astonished by the apathy and the lack of commitment to this holiness. They can't believe it. Then there's an intermission during the second half. You're now in the very first row. You're very close to the central fire, and you're on the left-hand side. So you're on the side of the deep unconscious, then the performance begins. Now, this is the second most holy performance. This is now a class of 3-year-olds singing. So this represents somewhat a group, a chorus of the divine child, but no one can hear them. You can hear them, but only because you're in the front row. So they're this barely audible voice of this divine child that's found in the center. And this somewhat reflects my own experience too of not being able to hear the unconscious and active imagination. The only way I can get it, hi Kevin, is to force it through usually automatic writing, or scolding it, where are you, okay, and then the final performance has, and no one can see this but you. So this is meant only for you. And this 3-year-old is using his entire body. This new attitude, this divine child, represents the 1 foot in the divine world that you're supposed to have. 1 foot in the divine world, 1 foot in the outer world. And he's acting out the idea that you need to have 1 foot in this world. He's pretending as a leg, and said, this is what you need, but after he performs it, we don't really understand. We just get up to leave. You see the anima, and you give her back this gift of the blanket, which was this symbol of more permanent residence there.
Right. Oh my God, that is so deep.
Yeah. So then she tells you something, but you can't figure out what she's saying. So you're walking around this blanket, not quite knowing what to do with this symbol of taking permanent residence there, or a more permanent residence. What do you think, Roy? Have we beat it to death yet, or?
I have a couple ideas.
Okay.
Yeah, Gary, what happened to the blanket? Did you take it back, or what happened to the blanket?
Well, so in the blanket, I'm wandering around outside, and and it's strange because the symphony isn't like this, but there were some areas that were set up that were selling like jewelry. And so I'm kind of wandering through these areas with all this jewelry for sale, and wondering, like, should it go here? But yeah, so it was like, it was a little more like a place of commerce than what it actually is.
Well, the jewelry would represent things of value. But go, what do you think, Roy?
Do you remember what happened to the blanket?
I woke up about the time I couldn't figure out where to put it.
So the hostess didn't take the blanket back.
No.
Okay. And another question, did you want to go to this theater? I'll just call it a theater, or whatever it is. Did you want to see it?
No, choral groups like that are rarely to my taste.
So you're sort of apathetic, but the hostess sort of
yeah, definitely apathetic. I mean, it's actually surprising I would be there for something like that. I'm more like I like orchestra.
Okay, well, I like what Craig was saying. It's basically you had this invitation to like a sacred thing. I like to call it the theater. I've had a couple of dreams like this, and I was given a pillow, and they told me to keep it. I felt kind of awkward there because I'm not theatrical and I'm not an actor, but they like told me I was welcome, and they gave me this pillow to keep. They said, don't let anybody take it away from you. You keep this. This is for you. And eventually, I was sort of apathetic because I wanted to be an actor, not an audience. I'm through with audience, and I kept the pillow. But it seems like there's a great opportunity here, but you're not ready for it. You're not enthusiastic about it. So it is interesting how you would be sort of persuaded to take the invitation up and
Oh, yeah.
participate to some degree, but maybe you didn't realize what
The
great thing this
significance.
was,
Yeah, yeah.
significance,
Oh, good point.
and but at least you know the the people in the dream are interested in you, and I think they would welcome you back. They didn't take the blanket back.
Right, right. I need to have a better attitude next time.
Well,
Well,
it is what it is. You're
Yeah.
just that's where you're at.
well, and I think the one leg that's trapped in the inner world, which the divine child is trying to say, trying to give us silently, is trying to tell us what our problem is. There is one leg trapped in the inner world, and the anima is linking this with the blanket. So the divine child, or the philosopher's stone, is trying to give us the message that here's our problem. One of our legs is trapped in the inner world. We're not using it. Okay,
Right.
so we're not using it to connect the inner and the outer world. This is what our problem is. And then the anima is telling us, well, the solution to that is to take up a permanent residence here. One where you need a blanket because you sleep here. You don't just uh, you sleep here while conscious, or you sleep in dreams, but you're in the dream. You're going to sleep there as well. So you're going to um, you're going to produce images there in this place, and so that's linked with the fact that this leg, the leg of that should be one leg in the inner world, is trapped there, and that's what the divine child, or the philosopher's stone, is trying to give us a pantomime or something, and no one can see it but us. No
Right.
one can see it but the ego. So anyway, it's a wonderful gift, I think, this dream, absolutely wonderful gift. I was thinking sometimes we get a little bit too many people here. It's kind of nice if it's a little more intimate. Um, do you do you guys have any? Kevin? Do you have any comments on the dream? I know
Yeah,
you're having
sure.
a little problem. Go ahead.
Yeah, fine. I remember some of it from the last time. I remember
Yeah.
it was three women, two unknown and one known, and it was this carpet. It's funny because one of my friend, he wrote the story, and when I was reading a carpet, it was more a magic carpet, and I could just see the projection of the spirit Mercurius on the carpet. I cannot see it. I don't know if I can see it in this one, but three women reminds me of fate, like the three norms, the three fates, and so on. And yeah, I'm more curious about what association Gary has to the carpet.
Well, it was a blanket, and the only thing I was doing, the blanket, when I took it in there, I'd spread it over my legs to keep them warm.
Mhm. Yeah, this is another dream, Charles. Let me just read it to you real quick again. I'm just going to read the dream to you, and then you can. Let me see if I can get it again. Oh well. Anyway, let me just. I can't find it right this second. But the dream was that Charles, his anima invited him, or his anima was ushering in a symphony. He goes there without tickets, and doesn't know if he'll gain admittance. He does gain admittance. Then and the anima gives him a blanket. Then the during the process, he sits in the back row, the middle row, and the front row. Everybody is leaving here. It's very sparse in the first place, but everybody's leaving. The choral group that's singing at this symphony hall is looking at each other, wondering what's happening, and like, why this apathy, you know? But they continue to perform, and then there's an intermission, and Gary is now sitting in the front row on the left, so he's very close to the stage. There's a group of 3-year-olds singing, and they're barely audible. So you know, it's this fact that the divine child is very far away from us, but because we're sitting so close, we can hear them. And then the next group, the last performance of the 3 is the this 3-year-old, kind of a divine child, is acting out the role of a leg, you know, a leg. So he's pretending to be a leg, you know, and this is a message to Gary, because Gary's the only one that can see it. But when it's done, Gary doesn't have any signs of recognition. He leaves and he returns to the anima, this blanket, or tries to. She gives him a very vague or unheard answer, and so he doesn't know what to do with it. I mean, he said that he tried to see if some jewelry stores or some places of value wanted it, but they didn't really respond. Oh, well, Kevin left it. Poor Kevin.
I think he's having internet problems.
Yes. If you look, I was freezing up last time, so we got some. I really upgraded our internet, so hopefully that's not going to happen.
Yeah, you're looking really good this time. I mean,
yeah. Well, Roy, do you have a dream that you want to go discuss or not?
Sure, I have lots of dreams.
Okay, well, let's go over one of them.
Okay, well,
I kind of like it when it's a little more intimate, because
oh yeah,
Yeah.
you get more focused.
well, you know, and Roy, I've been like really effective with Craig's other group in reducing the overall size of it and the exercises I've been doing. So it's getting more and more intimate.
yeah. I mean, sometimes you know, it's like your divine group or your choral group. You know, I always told my wife when we lived in a small town and they had a parade, and almost the whole town's in the parade. And I said, if you have everybody in the parade and nobody's watching the parade,
Right.
it's not really a parade. But if everybody's watching and there's nobody in the parade, then, I mean, you know, so you got to have the right mix. Anyway, so why don't you go ahead, Roy?
Okay, yeah, we had 2 dreams this week. Adelaide had an interesting dream, and we don't have any women here this time, but
Yeah.
her dream had a positive animus and a negative animus in the same dream.
Okay.
It was pretty spectacular. But my dream I had this week is where I'm starting to get in touch with my shadow, and my shadow is introducing me to his friends. Okay, here's the dream. Okay, I'm at the Fruit and Spice Park, which I live. It's just down at the corner. I volunteer there. I'm at this Fruit and Spice Park where I volunteer, and just exploring around by myself, and I start to fly. I could fly high over the treetops. I could feel the strength in my arms, which were my wings. And as I was flying over like a plowed field, I saw a red dachshund.
A red what?
Dachshund? Dachshund?
Yeah, a
dog?
dachshund.
A hot
Oh,
dog.
the wiener dog, hot dog.
Wiener
Oh,
dog.
dachshund.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. A red wiener dog.
Now, what were you flying over?
I said I could fly high. I could feel the strength in my arms,
Oh,
which were
okay.
wings,
Yeah.
my wings.
I thought you were flying
And-
over something.
And, you know, sometimes it's hard for me to fly. I'm flying really low and I'm really heavy. But this time I was light and I could get a lot of height, you know, higher than the treetops. big trees.
Okay, higher than the trees. All right. And
So,
then
so I'm over this plowed field
cloud.
where I see the little wiener dog.
Mhm.
Okay, at the edge of the field is a large bird. It was kind of next to a bushy tree, like it was looking in the tree for something to eat or something. And then it saw the wiener dog. And this was a large bird, probably 7-foot wingspan. It looked like a shoe-billed stork. You
Mhm.
might want to Google that, a shoe-billed stork.
Yes, I know what a shoe bill stork is.
People
It's
put that thing
weird
on
looking.
the internet sometimes to freak
Yeah,
people out.
they're
Okay,
weird looking.
so I'm I'm worried about this little wiener dog because the bird's making a beeline for it, and I land right there at the dog at the same time this big bird does, and the dog turns into a cat,
A cat?
a cat,
Mhm.
and the cat, just like the dog, looked like they had no idea what was going on. They weren't.
Mhm.
They didn't fear anything because they didn't really notice it. And at that time, the bird pointed its beak right at me. It was looking. It was just a couple inches from my nose, and we were staring each other down with the bird's little beady eyes. And I was full of fear and terror. And actually, I was kind of moaning in the bed, and my wife woke me up right there at that moment. So I don't know if I got my head bit off or what.
Hmm. Well, I think I'd be afraid of a bird with an 8-foot wingspan.
Yeah, well, the shoe bill stork always looks like it's a cartoon bird. It's real,
Yeah,
you know.
kind of a scary cartoon.
Yeah, it's got a kind of a blue, it's a
It's
blue
so
shovel.
primal. It's so
Yeah,
primal looking.
yeah, it looks like a shovel beak, you know, and it covers almost its whole head. So it's a big, almost a pelican-like beak.
Like it pelican, like it
Yeah.
actually, when they studied it with the DNA, they found out it wasn't related to storks. It's more related to pelicans.
Yeah, because
To a
its
pelican.
beak looks
Yeah,
like a pelican.
like a pelican.
Okay, well let's go over here now. Now you said that you got to meet your shadow and his friends. Is are they who are you? You think that's maybe the dogs and the
Okay,
shoebill?
I I was always terrified of this bird when I first saw it on the internet, and I didn't know
Yes.
anything about it. So after the dream, I looked it up, and I saw that it was from Africa. It's very ancient. It's probably only about 8,000 of them in existence, and they hunt fish and small reptiles and things like that they find in the river, and they hang out with the hippopotamus, who stirs up the water and a lot of fish, and then the stork's there to grab them. Well, that's where I put it together because my not my anima, my shadow uh, takes animal forms a lot of times. And when my shadow first tried to contact me in a friendly way in a dream, it was a rhinoceros, which is also African. And
Yeah.
before that, it contacted me as a crocodile selling brushes. It came to my house and my wife let it in. And that's also from Africa. And then I started having connections with the hippopotamus, which I discovered was a friend of the rhinoceros. So it really wasn't my shadow, it was my shadow's friend. So then when the shoe-billed stork appeared, I said, whoa, he hangs out with hippopotamus. It's another friend of my shadow. These are all African things which aren't scary to the animals, but they're scary to humans.
Okay, well let's go through. I thought we'd just show a little bit of the shoe bill stork here. Let me see if I can share this. Can you see it?
Yeah.
You see it?
Yes,
Holy strange.
there's some scary photos of that bird. He can look real scary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see that they're big and they
Yeah.
almost look human. Do you see there's a little bit
Yeah.
of a human aspect to them? Look at how wise their eyes are.
Yeah.
You know, it's anyway, it's I just thought I'd show you that shoebill stork. It's an amazing bird. I mean, it
Yeah.
really is. I mean, it doesn't even look like a bird. I mean, you know what it kind of reminds me too? It's an ancient bird. It's I don't it evidently is a flying bird, but it kind of looks almost like a dodo. You know, it's what I would imagine a dodo to look like, but it's a very old. So let's start out here. You're at the fruit and spice bar. So again, you know the one thing I do is when I'm at a business or any kind of a store or place of commerce, I think I am in. I'm not in the sacred place. I'm not in the deep unconsciousness. I'm in the middle realm. You know, this is the, you know, Hermes was called the god of commerce, but I mean, that's because he's the guide of souls. You know, he exists in the middle realm, and a business really represents where two sides meet. You know, I mean, that's what a business is. And then when the two sides, you know, Hermes is the messenger of the gods, so he brings the message of the divine world to the lower world. So he is this being of the middle realm. And since he's the god of commerce, I haven't heard anybody say this about me, but that's
It's
I don't.
it's a government park.
Okay,
It's
the
not a
fruit.
business. It's a government park that is down here in South Miami that was established to preserve the fruit trees that were brought into America and can't grow anywhere but South Florida, like in the Philippines and all over the world. And it's
Okay,
40,
fruit.
40
It's a
fruit and
fruit and
spice.
spice barn.
Park,
Oh,
P A
park.
R
It's
K.
a fruit and
It's
spice
government.
park.
It's
Yeah.
government.
Yes. Okay.
It's not a business at all.
Okay. So
It's
it
kind of a
is.
sacred place. It is a sacred
Yes.
place. That's
It
why I
is.
go there. It's just nature. I mean, incredible. You can see baobabs and mangoes and all kind of exotic teak wood, all kind of exotic stuff from all over the world that grows in there. They planted it, and,
It,
and they have two big greenhouses, an Asian greenhouse and a South American greenhouse. It's like really sacred. It's just awesome. Where can
yeah.
you see this in America?
Well, it's kind of like the Garden of Eden. It's sort of
Oh yeah,
paradise.
yeah,
So we're in paradise.
yeah.
Oh,
That's
we're
why I
in.
volunteer there.
Yes. So
It's,
we're in paradise. This is a place in paradise. You know, there's no time. So you're in paradise. Okay. Now, you like to volunteer to go be in paradise. You know, and then you start to fly. Okay. So now there is a sense of buoyancy here that seems to be related to the fact that you're here. When you're here, you gain a lot of energy. Your wings feel very strong. You know, they lift you high, you know, and you go so you can go higher than the highest trees here. And it's because of the energy that you get when you volunteer here is is translated into great lift, great ability to go um, to ascend. There's a great ability to ascend, you know. But then you're flying over a plowed field. Okay, so this is very related to the feminine. Okay, this is the place of the Delphic oracle, the Eleusinian fields, Kore, the one that holds up the grains, you know, and you know, this is where the seeds of the fruits are planted, you know, the seeds that are going to the new growth. This is the new feminine growth. You're over the plowed field. It's prepared to be either seeded or it's prepared to be seeded. A plowed field is not a planted field, but it's prepared for to be seeded. So this place is a place of where new things can grow, but they need seed. Okay. So while you're flying over there, you see a red, so it would be probably related to the feeling function or eros, um, dog. So it's an animal of the instinct. It's an instinctual aspect of ourselves, but it is a very it's one that is closer to consciousness than a wolf, say. So it's closer to consciousness, and we see then this malevolent being, which I am saying is this is a being that's very close to the center. It's a wide. What do you think, you guys? What do you think the shoebill stork represents? To me, it represents the undifferentiated self, or something very close to the center. But why don't? What do you think of that, Roy? And then let's hear from Gary or Kevin.
Some of my comments.
Yeah. What do you think? Now, you said the shoebill stork is something that you fear, but usually what we deny we fear. I think because it is so divine, such a magical bird, such a magical bird, it transcends consciousness. So it seems to me that it is a being very alien to consciousness. It's not it's not forgotten contents. The shadow is really Gary and I have discussed this, where I don't know, we had a friend that always wanted to do shadow work, and I was saying, of course, this is a Poeri Turnus talking, but I said, well, shadow work is still, you're saying this, the center is the ego. I said, I would rather do symbol work, because then the center is the divine, But anyway, I'm saying this, the shoebill stork appears to me to be so alien to consciousness, alien to any animal life. It's a magical being. So to me, it represents a very, very intense symbol of the center, some type of wise center, very alien though. I mean, it's like, I don't know what you would call it. It's and it's at the edge of the plowed field. Okay, so it's at the edge. It's standing at the edge of the field, ready for seeding, ready for growth. Now there is our domesticated instinct, or the dachshund. And when we come down to protect it, it seems like turns into a cat. So it turns into a little. So when we meet this instinct, it assumes a feminine aspect. Neither this instinct is this instinct of the conscious world. Instinct in the conscious world is unaware of this magical, powerful force, which is ready to come in. And now, if it's going to devour it or kill it or something, it's going to assimilate it. And then that always implies a rebirth. You have to remember, in every dream, when there is a death, it does not mean annihilation. It means something is going to be reborn. The unconscious treats death very cavalierly, because there is no such thing as death in the unconscious. So it's always implies a rebirth. So anyway, what do you think, Gary? Now let's just talk about the shoebill stork, everybody. What do you think?
Yeah, you know what's really striking me about that is, I mean, the thing that's really making that bird unusual is its beak. And of course, the beak that's the mouth. And, and when it lands beside you, it sticks its face right
Nosed.
in yours, just nose to nose. And like if that was a human, it would be like, I have got something to say and you will listen. And that the mouth on that thing is so oversized. It's like, okay, you've got something to tell me, and whatever it is really important, and that's why this feature has just been, massively emphasized, is how it's striking me.
Yes, that's a good point, that it's emphasizing this this aspect of it has a very large face. Okay, so its face is very stark. So I mean, it's like the face of God is very clear, and alien. And what do you think, Kevin? I'm still thinking.
Um, regarding the bird, yeah, I sense a bit of cynics and trickster energy combined.
Mm-hmm.
And the cynics and trickster energy combined actually is, I don't want to say for sure, but in most cases, I don't want to say for this case, but in most cases is often a symbol of Hermes, the wise old man aspect, along with his trickster's aspect. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't have much to say. It's otherworldly, that's for sure.
Well, let me just say one thing, and then I'd like to hear what Roy thinks. In the plowed field that's planted, seems to be some types of instinct that we want to protect. It's in the plowed field. What's it doing there? I mean, so it's connected with this place of growth, and then the this, what I'm thinking, related to the senex of where it looks like a very ancient bird. That's one thing that we have to take into account, that this bird looks ancient. It looks like it's a bird of the deep past. It's very rare. It's very magical. It's very unusual. So what that's why I'm thinking that it is we've been given a very special image of the divine.
I can also perhaps say that I think the if I remember this correct, the stork is also a bird of
Yes.
Hermes, and this is related to stork.
Yeah, it always has its nest, at least storks do. It has its nest in the highest part of the tree, and this is where the phoenix also has its nest. So the tree that it's associated with the feminine tree, so and it has its nest at the very crown of the tree that's as above, so below, this thing that connects the upper and the middle worlds, upper and the lower worlds. And here the stork, the one that brings babies too, the stork brings the divine child. It always has been a symbol of birth, of rebirth, or of birth. So the stork is a symbol of birth. He is the master of the plowed field. Okay, this stork, which is a symbol of birth or rebirth, is the master of the plowed field. Sits at the edge of it, almost like he is presiding over this field where new growth is going to occur. It sees these instinctual elements which really shouldn't be there, because maybe they're old instinctual elements or don't have the right, they don't have the correct, they're too primitive and for this this divine place, you know, and it's going to come and either, you know, it looks like it's going to consume them. Could you say a little bit more about the shoebill story? Because I think you said some things, Roy, that I didn't get a chance to write down, but go ahead.
Okay, when I looked it up, I found out it was from Africa.
Yes.
And Egyptians knew about it. And it's very rare today. It's less than 8,000 of them in existence. And they eat fish mostly, maybe a small reptile or something that they find in the river. And one thing that they like is to hang out with the hippopotamus, because the hippopotamus will bring up a lot of mud and stuff from the bottom with fish and things, and then the stork can gobble them up.
Now, almost like a pelican too, but
Yes.
now the thing is, let's just talk about Africa. You know, it's the place of origin. You know, this is the place where consciousness was born. You know, so it's the place of the second birth of consciousness. So this bird is in the place where all consciousness originated. It's sitting at the head of the plowed field, which is ready for new growth. The dilemma here is the dachshund. So we come to this place of the fruit and spice. And by the way, what a wonderful name for a park. You know, it's you know, one time Schopenhauer, who had gotten some books from India, you know, he was one of the first person to see Hindu texts, you know, and he says, if you want the blossoms of spring and the fruits of fall all at once, he says, this is where you find it. So fruit and spice. So this is that place of the fruits of life, you know, the grapes that grow, the reward of this rooted existence, the rewards of the rooted existence, and then the spices. Okay, the very magical things. You know, the spice must flow. You know, we hear that in Dune. You know, it's a you know, the Spice Islands. You know, this was the reason that Columbus, you know, this was actually the impetus for all discovery. You know, the impetus for all discovery was spices, and then we've also got fruits. So this is in a particularly magical place. And in the particularly magical place, we gain a great ability to ascend, great strength. We used to not be able to get too far above. Now we can ascend easily over the highest treetops. We see the plowed field. The master of the plowed field is this ancient bird from the very depths, the deepest depths of consciousness, you know, and it represents birth because it brings the babies. You know, that's a mythical aspect of the stork. You've seen, you know, flying the thing, the baby, and dropping it down the chimneys, you know, so we still don't know what the meaning of the dog that turns into a cat is. I mean, all I see is, go ahead, Roy.
Okay. This is what really struck me. Yeah, listen to this. This is something to think about. Our instincts. There's something about us, our weak parts in ourselves that we're unconscious of in our body. How we list to the right, how we don't use this muscle or that muscle. and we don't notice it because it's got habituated for so long. And it actually rules us, but we're not conscious of these weak parts that we're unconscious of. And the animals, the wiener dog and the cat, represent these weak parts. The stork knew that they weren't necessary, that I should be aware of them, don't save them. You're not going to get strong wings and strength if you rescue these things and protect them. They have to go. That's how I interpret it.
Yeah, if you're going to be able to plant or to provide the seed for the plowed field, the one that's not seeded yet, and have this new growth, and that stork is going to stand there and watch it for you and guard it for you, and it's saying, this is not welcome here. You know, we need to get this is not this for this sacred place, this very primitive and weak instinct. You know, that's one thing you can say about a dachshund. Compare it with a timber wolf. You know, it's laughable. You know, it has a funny shape. You know, it's you know, I always tell my wife, I mean, you look at a Chihuahua, Great Dane, Dalmatian, they all somehow through breeding came from the wolf, you know, but it's a very inbred dog. You know, it's a one that's been bred many, many times and has all the wildness bred out of it.
You have to remember they're bred to hunt badgers.
Badgers, yes.
They're one
Underground.
of the most fierce dogs there is. I mean, imagine going after something like a wild badger down in a hole and not thinking about twice about how you're going to get out of that hole once you face this thing. I mean, that's pretty courageous.
Well, that and the Welsh Corgi too.
Yeah, these particular animals were unaware of danger. They weren't fierce. They were like, you know, a cat can be very fierce, just like a dachshund. These animals were unaware and they weren't doing it. I mean, they weren't animals betraying their trademark.
Animals of tunnels, you know, I mean, you know, that's why they had the short legs, so they could go into the badger hole or badger den, you know, and navigate there, you know, and get through there. But anyway, this we have to give the greatest respect to the shoebill stork, the greatest respect. And why would it be in a plowed field and not a seeded field, you know? So anyway, then, so this is the dilemma. First of all, we're very afraid of this very alien bird. We're trying to protect this this overbred instinct that we have, one that has had all the wildness bred out of it. You know, would the shoebill stork come after a wolf like that, or no? It wouldn't. You know, because I think the wolf would be a little more welcome in this place. You know, but not this overbred domesticized instinct, you know. So that, I think, is the aspect that the shoebill stork objects to. This overbred, inbred instinct that has no wildness, no nature in it, and is too related to the world of consciousness, because it's a being of consciousness, you know, developed by consciousness, you know, through breeding, is not what is going to be to provide. This place is too primitive, too ancient, too unusual for such mundane things.
You know,
what do you go ahead?
It goes even further than that, Craig. I mean, this wild shoebill stork, I mean, this primal thing predators, they can tell if an animal is weak, any kind of weakness, and that's the animals that it picks off.
Mhm.
And everybody has weaknesses in them, and they're not usually very conscious of their weaknesses.
Mhm.
And so it applies across the board for anybody. Uh, we try to protect our weaknesses and hide them, but everybody knows that they're there and we have them, And the shadow doesn't play around with that. You're not going to be able to sing and dance to the shadow and get away protecting your weaknesses. And that to me is like the core of the dream. That's what I feared. That's the revelation that I had.
Yeah, I would say, just, definitionally, the shadow is related to the ego. This shoebill stork is more related to the chthonic underworld, the darkness of the mothers, the realm of the mothers.
But this shadow is the alien shadow. That's
yes.
different. I'm talking about the alien shadow. It's not related to the ego at all. This
No,
thing is
no.
so weird. Man, I don't know where it came from. This is the alien shadow.
Well, see, and this is what I mean by sometimes we mistake darkness and the underworld and what's alien to consciousness for for something that is more related to the personal shadow. But this dark being, the shoebill stork, is related to the dark realm of the mothers, of the origins of humankind, comes from Africa.
Well, it's not the personal shadow.
No,
it's archetypal.
Yes,
It's from the
archetypal
realm of the
darkness.
mothers. This
Yes.
middle world.
What do you think, Gary?
Well, I agree that this is an instinct to be removed. And I think the violent reaction of the bird is kind of, it's also, okay, so flying could be buoyant, but sometimes flying can, indicate an inflation. And this one, where you're high above the trees, it's like, that could be like a major inflation. And so, here you're having this major inflation that, oh, this attitude is to be saved. That's like this instinct is to be preserved. And then you come down to protect it. And the bird is just right in your face. Like, who do you think you are? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
this is a wonderful confrontation, one-to-one with
yeah,
that
yeah.
being, is amazing. I think the fact that you're in the fruit in the realm of the fruit and spice bar, and that gives you the ability to ascend. It's a little bit different than me flying through my high school. I mean, that's what I always do. I would fly to my high school. This you're in this sacred place. It gives you the ability to ascend, but maybe before you are worthy of it, because you have an unfinished plowed field. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, it's just thoughts. The most important in Jungian, the most, I think, at least in Jungian psychology, the biggest or the most difficult task often is to unified instinct and spirit. I don't know if this is what is happening here, but this is a very difficult thing, because realizing there are opposites of the same coin. I don't see the bird as opposing to the animal. It could be the bird wants to be transfixed, so it has to attack the animal, like whether eat or, often we can see it in dream where when the spirit wants to become flesh, when God wants to become flesh, it needs material or matter, and so it needs instinct. And you also mentioned that this type of bird eat reptiles, which is quite cold-blooded. Totally opposite. Reptiles is also another form of the otherworldly opposite coin, totally in that sense. What I find interesting is that once the bird comes closer to the dog, it turns into a cat. So when the spirit approaches your instincts become more autonomous. So what I see here is a relationship between instinct and spirit, and how that works in you. Another thing with this image that strikes me is I also get reminded, and I'm not saying this is the correct amplification, but I just want to share this, is that it also reminds me of Adam and Eve. The spirit Mercurius was in paradise, which made Adam and Eve ate the apple. But the story of Adam and Eve, either Adam comes from Eve or Eve comes from Adam. The rib story and other stories. They always this that they were a unified being, and so I have, at least me, more a masculine association to the dog before it turns into a feminine, cat.
Cat is
And
feminine, dog is masculine.
So I feel like that's an interesting thing. I don't think this otherworldly creature tries to attack your instinct. I think it's more that either the instincts wants to be incarnated, meaning information from your body and so on wants to be known, and it's still a dog and it wants to be known. It wants to be transformed, or the spirit wants to be made flesh, or it could be both. One affects the other. That this is what I see, because I cannot see. I don't feel that the self is attacking you at all. You are in the middle of this spirit and instinct, and this is what Edgar Edgener is talking so much about. The ego's role in reincarnating God, and but what does it mean? It means to transform an informational element, either from your spirit, heaven, or from your body. Atom. Atom. It comes from atom. Even minerals, it goes down and goes up. Goes through a certain transformation, and this gives birth to conscious awareness.
Well, we have to now. First of all, it is a bird, so it does represent a spirit, but a spirit of what? Okay, now my woodpeckers are birds, but they never leave the tree. So they're the spirit of the tree. Now the eagle and the dove are birds of the high air, and they are very unlike the woodpecker. They're very far from the woodpecker. The woodpecker never leaves the rooted world, and that these birds totally leave the rooted world. So now let's compare that to the spirit of the waters. It's a spirit that is near always bodies of water, and the king of the African bodies of water is the crocodiles and the hippos. And it's very closely related to the god of the depths, the hippo. This god of the depths. So it's the spirit of this the unconscious waters, and very mysteriously in the place of the origin of all consciousness. I mean, I can just see its home is under Mount Elgon, or in Kenya, where we first had the what Joseph Campbell called the non-knuckle walking hominids. The ones, the bipedal and apes that didn't use their knuckles for walking anymore and started to use tools. This is the place, and it's the place of the second creation. Where one day they looked out at these grazing herds and birds flying, and suddenly realized they had this archetypal point, they could see themselves as animals too, so that's what consciousness is. You can look down on itself. So anyway, this is a bird, but it is a spirit, but it is not a spirit of the air. It's a spirit of the deep, the deep depths of water, and so and it is an ancient bird from an ancient place. Now, I think what it's doing is guarding the plowed field, and we have to keep in mind that these instinctual forces that we go down there to protect have no wildness in them whatsoever. They've been totally overbred, and so they're consciousness instincts. And I think so. It's now one thing about instinct versus archetype. Archetype is the ultraviolet or the more spiritual. It's the meaning side of instincts. It is an instinct, an archetype. It's something we're born with, but it's the instinct of meaning, where the dog is more the instinct of the body. It's nothing meaning about it. It's just the instinct of bodies. So this instinct of bodies is not welcome in the where the instinct of meaning is presiding. Okay, the instinct of meaning, which is standing at the edge of the plowed field, waiting for the seed. Who's going to provide the seed? Roy is going to provide the seed. He can see it from above, and he descends upon it. Now, Roy is to provide the seed for this place. And the seed is really ego attention. That's what's going to fertilize and seed this field, is the attention of the ego. If this field has been prepared by some purposeful being in the unconscious, and is presided over by this very ancient, wise, archetypal being, very primitive, yet very related to the deepest depths. It's the spirit of the unconscious waters. Gary is to provide the seed. The seed is going to be what in alchemical language, when they say cooking, that means to provide ego attention to it. The unconscious contents long for the light. What is the light? It's ego attention. It's manifesting these deep contents in our own consciousness, bringing them up from the depths, and then creating the symbol, basically, which is the transcendent function. Because I'm going to finish with this, but the symbol cannot be created by nature. It can't be created by the unconscious, by the self, and it can't be created by the ego. It only can be created by the ego applying its attention to the images of the depths, and then the symbol, which is growth. It didn't exist before. Nature can't produce it. It only can be produced by the dialogue between ego and the depths. That's what growth is. How about you, Gary? What do you think?
Oh my gosh, the way you finished that off, I'm just kind of blown away. The field prepared for the seed of conscious attention, and and the instincts which have to be kept out. And the bird is letting you know that, know in certain terms that, look, your job is not to protect these instincts. Your job is to provide the seed, so wake up.
Yeah. Well, I would say it's instinct, but it's instinct that is too worked over by consciousness.
Yeah.
It's been bred. There's nothing natural about a dog. It has some vestiges of its wildness, you know, which we can see and everything, but it's not living its rhizome as a wolf. You know, it's
Yeah.
this, it's almost like an extension of the ego. You know,
Did you
I mean,
say that when it transformed into the cat that it was a kitten or a cat?
Cat,
Because
More
domestic
feminine.
cat,
Yeah.
domestic cat.
yeah,
Both the domestic animal, domestic cat, domestic dog. You know, the dog, even though I do agree with Roy, it's a very specialized dog. It's fierce, but it is still a funny shaped wolf. You
it's
know,
almost like the instinct is aware that it shouldn't be there. And that's it's like asking permission, like, well, what about this more feminine form?
well, it provides both the masculine and the feminine, and it turns into the feminine when in the plowed field when Gary's comes descends. See, when Gary is up high, it's sort of a more related to the logos because it's a dog-like
Yeah.
instinct, and when he descends, then it becomes a more feminine instinct, which is the cat, you know. But both of them very naive and not aware of this divine drama that's occurring with this
Right.
incredible being.
So the change from logos on high to eros at the field level, at the ground level.
That's, I mean, that's all, I'm just guessing at that,
Yeah.
but I would say, okay, I'm going to just say if I had this dream, maybe everybody else can say that. I mean, if I had this dream, I mean, I think it would be first of all, the shoebill stork would become my divine animal, you know, my soul animal. It's going to be the one, like my woodpeckers. Okay, so you know, I've got a woodpecker as my soul animal, and what it means is the spirit of trees, spirit of rootedness, because I'm so far away from the rooted life, you know. So the shoebill stork, I would say, Roy, if I was to treat it as one of my woodpeckers, is the is almost is and woodpeckers are ancient birds too, very ancient birds. But the shoebill stork is the analogy of the woodpecker, not of the dove, not of the eagle, of of um, of water in Africa. Okay, it's the spirit of bodies of water in Africa. You know, the highest bird. I mean, what is a higher bird than the eagle? There is no higher bird. What is the highest bird of the bodies of water in Africa? It's the shoebill friggin' stork. You know, I mean, that is the king of birds in Africa, in water. Okay, and it's very closely related to the Poseidon of African waters, which would be either the crocodile or the hippo. So this is a magical, divine bird. Now I can't talk to my woodpeckers in active imagination. They don't really have anything to say, but they usually have some kind of a person that's with them. We didn't see any persons in this dream. But what you know, Gary, I mean Roy, this is when did you have this dream?
Thursday.
Thursday. Oh my
Uh,
God.
Let me reiterate again uh, about the instincts.
Yeah.
Our instincts have been bastardized. Our instincts are just totally corrupted. Uh, we're not really in touch with our instincts. You got to go back to the Middle Age. We've screwed up our instincts so bad. With this primal archetype, this shoebill stork, it's not going to permit that. If I'm going to use my consciousness and sow this field, it's going to be those pure instincts, like, you know, that are eternal. that we've forgotten and we're not really in touch with.
And your being of relatedness here is going to be the shoebill stork. Shoebill stork is going to be your is your partner in seeding this field, you know, or it's going to be someone that we need to relate to.
Oh man, I'm telling you, Craig, I've been following this shadow stuff since the 1970s, and I would. It's only this in the past 12 months that my shadow contacted me. It's curious about me. It's starting to interact with me. Most of the time it's animal forms. I mean, it's so weird. And now it's showing me its friends. I mean, to me, I'm 100% certain these are archetypal shadow things that they're in the middle world. They can't come to our physical world because there's a wall. And they can't come through the wall. The only way that they can come through the wall is through a physical human. But humans don't know how to contact them because humans think they can befriend them. They can't befriend them. These alien shadow animals and humans, whatever, they have to contact you. Why the hell would they want to contact you? They live in eternity. They have tremendous power and freedom. And why would they want to mess with some puny human that is not very conscious? So you can't befriend them. They have to befriend you. I've stalked these entities all my life. And, you know, I'm not trying to make friends with them. I'm just trying to say, okay, I'm here. Maybe you want to come over the wall. You know, I'm here. You have to give me a sign. You know, and I just wait.
It's almost like a vision quest. You know, I mean, let's say that you were on a vision quest and you're looking for your master animal. You come to this plowed field and you walk into the center of it, and this shoebill stork comes and looks you eye to eye. And this happened in reality. I mean, that is if nothing else, it is a very manifest sign of relatedness, of it being related, it contacting or directing its attention towards you personally. And it's demanding some kind of a response or some kind of a relationship. Now, when you have very elemental figures, archetypal figures of like a shoebill stork or woodpeckers or something like that, it is that's what is it Jung said, when the instincts are near, the archetypes are near, or there's something he says that isn't exactly what it says, but what I'm saying is I would say what is needed here is some type of a how are we going? I mean, here's the whole question: how are we going to seed this unseeded field that is prepared for us, and that is you could not ask for a more wonderful guardian of that field, the shoebill stork. He's related to the bodies of water in Africa, related to the gods of that water of Africa. It's very primitive, primordial, let's put it that way. It's primordial being. So you went down about as low as you can go. You pretty much hit bottom. You've hit bottom of the living world. Okay, this is where life all began. So at the place of life began, it's paradise. It's the fruit and spice park. There's a plowed field. This primordial being of Africa is there, ancient. I mean, it looks like a dinosaur. You know, it looks like a dinosaur. That's why people are so just, surprised by it. You know, and birds are dinosaurs. you know, and it looks at you with it. I mean, first of all, there is a sense of relationship to this primordial being. There's a plowed field. How do we seed it? It's not going to be seeded by fake instincts.
No, 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 no,
And
no.
and see, that's the fake instinct is going to be the domesticated. You know what's funny about us? We can't even walk on our feet without shoes. You know, I mean, all of our evolution has went into clothes, into something to cover our bodies, and we can't catch anything with our hands. We can't run, so we need guns or arrows or tractors. That's the only way we can eat. So all of our evolution has went into anything other than instinct. And then we have all these dogs. So I mean, it is a evolution, but it's evolution in a very non-biological direction, you know.
It's the price we paid for consciousness. We paid
Yes.
a great price for it. Now we're going to have to try to get back what we lost.
Yes. I mean, this is what Marie-Louise von Franz says. We paid a great cost when we, well, you know, it's funny when this derecho hit us, and here we're 10 days without power, and I go out and look at the Milky Way, and I listen at night, and there's not a sound. You know, it's total. And my grandfather lived before there was electricity, and he said he used to like winter because he could go to bed early. But I mean, I see these pictures of his family there. There was no electricity, no traffic noise, no anything. And it's living seamlessly with the seasons and sunrise and sunset, and the weather and everything. And you're not very protected against it, and you don't have refrigeration, and so it's a subsistence, a little more subsistence. But anyway, I would say the question before the court is, how are we going to plant or seed the plowed field, and how is the shoebill stork seems to be what I would say it needs two things. First of all, the seed is going to be the symbol that's created between your ego consciousness, the plowed field, and the shoebill stork. There needs to be a symbol created. That's the thing of growth. Can't be created by nature, say in alchemy. This cannot appear in nature, and that means that it only this thing of growth only comes when ego and the depths meet and actually have a relationship, and the depths communicate something to us, and miracle of miracles, we hear it and we respond, and the depths are overjoyed by this. When the choral group looks at Gary in apathy, it can't in a wonder at the apathy. That's what the depths do when we just don't pay any attention to it. So there's the symbol remains to be created, and the only way we're going to create the symbol is through the relationship between you and the shoe-billed stork. If you and the shoe-billed stork develop a relationship, something is going to grow in that field. And the shoe-billed stork says, look, I have provided the venue for the symbol. And I'm standing at the head of the venue of this, of where the venue of the symbol will come. And I await you. Now that is quite an invitation. And your little instinctual yappers are not welcome here. Go ahead.
It's a big challenge for me. I know what it is. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. I had some progress, but if these archetypes stay on me, they want to contact me, I, I'm going to do, I'm going to put everything that I have to do it, to get to the place that I have to be to, to keep their communication going.
Well, I think to begin with, uh, if you really want to create a numinous, these things long to be concrete in the outer world. One thing that you could do to make it very concrete in the outer world is to draw this dream and apply a lot of color to it and do it very seriously and apply a lot of attention to it. Don't just do a one-off. Take a few evenings doing it. Then when you come back and see this drawing, I mean, this is my feeling, I can't believe I did that. I didn't do it. It was a joint effort by me and the outer world. That drawing itself with many colors in itself is a symbol. And it wakes numinous energies in it.
I agree with you, Craig, but I'm not going to have time to draw. I'm working my ass off.
Yeah.
I'm really working hard, and what I'm working on is dealing with stuff that's on my plate.
Yes.
Takes everything that I got. Mm-hmm. I'm giving it my attention. I'm raising the level, and it's taking everything that I have, and I think that's what's caught my shadow's attention. They said, well, this guy, he's serious. We can work with this guy.
Well, yes, and that is everyone does it their own way, for sure.
Right.
What do you think, Gary and Kevin? And we're just about over, but I'm just amazed at how fast these last 30 minutes passed. Go ahead.
Last stream just blew me away, but I wanted to ask Roy, it sounds like, you already know what this is about. So what do you think the formation of the symbol is? It'll seed
okay.
What is it?
This is the symbol. I don't think you guys get it yet about the weaknesses that we have in us because we've been domesticated and we're modern humans. You don't grasp what those weaknesses are. You're kind of unconscious of it. I'm grasping what these things are. I'm becoming aware of them. It's going to take tremendous effort for me to overcome that. This has a lot to do with awareness and consciousness, bringing awareness and consciousness to those places where I can wake them up. And they'll give their energy to me, and they won't take my energy. That's going to take everything that I have. That's the symbol. That's what it is.
So, to me, I guess, one of the problems that you see so much in our modern society is that, we're just so heavy into the thinking function. We've just discarded the rest of it. So is it work on the feeling function and the emotions and things that you're talking about?
What I'm talking about is mostly, it depends on the person. I think it's the inferior function. Yeah. So for me, it would be sensation. So for me, it would be the body. Since I'm so intuitive, I'm neglecting my body, and it's become weak. I have the weak and unconscious parts in it. And so for me, it's to wake those parts up in my body, which I have to study the body and have experience with it and find those places and figure out a way to strengthen it.
Oh, that's fascinating because I think that's also my inferior function. And so, I spend a lot of time with, with dance or doing some yoga or Pilates, bike riding, a lot of physical things just because it's like, we've just lost contact.
If you really want to work on your body, one of the guys you want to look up on the internet is Mosh Feldenkrais. Mosh Feldenkrais.
How do you spell that first name?
Moshe.
Okay. So it's like Moshe almost.
Yeah, German.
Yeah.
He was a very smart German engineer, and his body went out on him. And he went to all the doctors and everything. They couldn't help him. So since he was an engineer, he knew mechanics. He studied the body and its structure, and he figured out for himself how to heal the body by having certain movements, mostly studying children and babies and how they move, and then going back and moving like them.
That
And
sounds very similar to somatics. Is it somatics or?
no, it's not somatics. It's I don't think it's a name for it, but
What's his last name again?
he's the pioneer, Feldenkrais, Felden, Felden Christ.
Okay.
You'll get close enough with Mosh Feldenkrais if you kind of.
It's very elemental. I mean,
it's
your
very
dreams.
elemental.
Yeah.
This
no,
this guy.
Non-verbal.
No. See, when we're born, we're basically just an asshole. I mean, we're just our ass, and it sucks. But we don't suck. We blow, and we kind of blow up, and we flex our strength, and we contract. But babies don't do that. They're very soft, like suck. You have to get back to that. If you don't get back to that and start there, you're just reinforcing your contraction. You're just making it worse. You have to learn how to get soft like a baby and move like a baby. Feldenkrais was a pioneer in that.
Kevin, do you have a few last words? And by the way, could you could we start with one of your dreams next time?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Yeah, Roy, thank you for your dream. I just felt like we got so much of this image already. Like you talked about it digesting reptiles. Mm-hmm. And reptiles are, associated with the parasympathetic and sympathetic, this is the lower brain part. And then you also talk about reconnecting with the body. And so I feel like we perhaps already get some, at least the way I see it, some insights into this bird and what it wants, connect with the, like you mentioned, what you wanted to do was sort of connect with what is lost. And this bird has really big, beak, it digests reptiles, it digests the instincts. Another thing with this bird, which I also think is its connection to trickster energy, and the trickster energy wants to push boundaries, and and I feel like perhaps this bird is also somewhat connected to that, because you do mention about this pioneer in, a person who's pioneering body connection and so on. So yeah, I think already been mentioned, like connecting with this bird would be like alpha omega, I think. I don't think it's too worried about your instincts, to be honest, or what your learned instincts are. It has an intelligence of its own. It won't be bothered with those small things. So yeah, so it would be nice if you could really connect with them and perhaps share us your insights on that.
Well, yeah, well, let's review it. Next week before we start, I just, maybe Roy, you can just give us a little bit of an update. But its food is of the depths. It eats, it is nourished by the depths. Well, anyway, what a wonderful surprise! That was a wonderful, wonderful dream. Next time we'll start with Kevin, and let's get and then Gary, you probably should bring a dream too, if you could. So and Roy, maybe bring your wife's dream too, Roy, if you'd like, and we'll do that. Okay, well, thank you guys. What a wonderful surprise! I loved it.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for I took up all the time.
It was a pleasure. It was a wonderful pleasure. I mean, I couldn't, the elemental dream is something we haven't encountered yet. The non-verbal dream is, it's beautiful and it's very moving, you know. So anyway, we'll see you all next time. Okay. Thanks, guys, Gary, Roy, and Kevin. Bye now.